You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We're blasting out of the bunker, folks. New and improved. Now with tanks. I didn't get a chance to get to this yesterday. Last night we ended up spending the entire hour talking about the right to individual self-defense, using a car, what are threats in our lives and what rights do we have, and should we just allow the government to pick on us? Should we allow the government to tell us what to do, tell us to lay down, to die, to give up, whatever? Should we just allow that to happen, or should we fight it? And if you fight it, how badly can you be destroyed and attacked, right? That was our discussion. Because that one woman, just one little lady, is saying, I'm not going to take a plea. I'm not going to admit guilt. Folks, she isn't standing alone. Many of the January 6th protesters are saying, no, we're not going to cop a plea. We're not going to admit we did anything wrong. And they're languishing in prison. Right? Government using the court system to enslave its own people, to force guilt upon its own people. Isn't that funny? I mean, when you think about it, just scratch your head and go, wait, isn't that what they used to do? Is they would put you in jail, or prison, if you will, and torture you. Literally put hot coals on you, put you in pain, torture, until you admitted guilt. And then the government was like, see, they admitted it. They knew, well, wow. Well, when people grow beyond that, folks, when they grow beyond the desire and the willingness to just give up and allow, right, or no, rather, when they give up and give up their softness, give up their willingness to just obey and be obedient, when they decide to stand up for themselves, you end up with another situation, which we discussed last night, right? And another one which we didn't discuss, and that is that in China, they are protesting. Dozens of cities, folks, and Chinese cities are huge. They have 1.4 billion people. Chinese are saying no more. They're willing to say, you know what? Not only are we not going to admit we're wrong, not only are we going to not obey, we're going to face more than just arrest. We're going to face essentially an all-powerful government. Now, I'm not talking about supernatural powers. I'm just talking about earthly power. That is enough, folks. It is enough. Now, decades ago, China, its strength, its power, its communist resolve, its nature was exposed to the world. Exposed to the world with the tragedy at Tiananmen Square, where protesters didn't like what was going on in China, and they said, we've had enough. So they decided to protest. They were in Tiananmen Square and would not leave, and the government showed up with tanks. And they used these tanks to kill their citizens. Right? Tank versus human flesh. You know who's going to lose. Tanks are designed to mow down humans, not to fight other tanks. I mean, why have a tank versus tank battle, right? If you're going to fight a tank, you want to bring something a little more than a tank so that you win. Now, be that as it may, let's just continue with this idea, folks. That it is SHTF now with tanks. China has again brought out the tanks because there is so much protesting going on. So much protesting going on. What are they protesting? They're protesting government lockdowns, government treatment, government mandate, They're protesting the Chinese government. When the people start to realize that they are more powerful than the government, that the government is just, a few men who are being obeyed by a very few other people in the military, in the government, law enforcement, who are willing to use force against them. Right? Understand the brainwashing behind this, folks. The same brainwashing that has Democrats in the United States of America saying they would take other Americans and put them in gulag, prison, concentration camps, death camps, and feel good about it, like little Katie Couric. Little cute Katie Couric, right? She wants to put people in concentration camps, re-education camps, death camps, because we're deplorable, as Hillary says. So people are willing to get behind the controls of a tank and mow down other human beings, obliterate them. Where was the mainstream media? Well, when Tiananmen Square happened, the media reported on it, showed pictures of the one man standing in front of the tank. Where's all the pictures of what has been happening in China? The tanks are rolling in on the protesters. The world can free itself, folks. The world can rid itself of these despicable, and folks, they're worse than deplorable, these completely awful humans who rely on us, our obedience, our willingness to quit, give up, give in, right? They try and crush the human spirit with psychology. They try and crush our bodies with drugs and chemicals. They try and crush us as individuals by using collective social pressures. They do all of that, folks, and they still can't defeat us, but they're going to try, and they won't give up. They're not going to give up, but they will come after us, and we can defeat them. We need to look, folks, really, and observe what's going on in China. Observe what's going on in our own country. These fake trials are the ground level where government tries using very personal attacks. And the second layer of personal attacks are collective tyrannical efforts. And the third level, well, they just go beyond, petty laws and rules, and they bring in the military. You could call it martial law, because law and order will be restored if the government has its way using these tanks. Now, China, just like Joe Biden, knows that if they roll the tanks out, the people get pissed. But it's a last-ditch effort by them. How many times do we, the American people, have to be threatened by idiots like Swallowswell and Klitzinger and Adam Schiff and Joe Biden himself? How many times do they have to threaten us with M16s to combat our AR-15s? How many times do they have to threaten us with F-16s, jets, and nuclear weapons? How many times now has our own government made reference to, well, you can't do anything, we got the weapons, we got the nukes, you better bring some nukes. Remember that shit? That's their threat, that if they lose control of us, in other words, if their tyranny gets so bad that we reject them, then they will go to the next level. Folks, the United States government and those who would obey the United States government in spite of and to the contrary of their oaths, they would take that kind of action against us. China is once again showing that it will bring out the tanks. And we're going to find out ultimately how they have been used. Are they just pushing people around, pushing people away, or are they running people over and mowing them down and then using weapons on them? Remember, that nice little lady in New York City who was being attacked personally in her car, being called names, threatened, and she felt threatened. She just drove away. The government of China is knowingly causing trouble and being the one who is, shall we say, antagonizing the people. The government's in the wrong. The people are rejecting. The government isn't running away, folks. The government is running to. The government is running into conflict. And they're bringing a tank, not an automobile. They're bringing a tank, which has explosive shells, fully automatic assault weapons, machine guns, and an impenetrable steel skin so that the occupants are safe while they commit God knows what atrocities. Here we are, folks. This is something we need to consider. We've been threatened by our own government with everything from police arrests, court, false charges, right? Wrongful imprisonments, all manner of small-time corruption. And then we've heard about, machine guns, F-16s, and nuclear weapons, right? SHTF folks can go from, relative calm, quiet, and normalcy to severe very quickly. And what is the determining factor? Whether or not our government has lost its patience with us and we demand too much, like our freedom, our liberty, our rights, our property, our children. At what point? At what point? Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Just ask yourself some questions, and you'll get the answers you may not want to hear, but you need to be ready for.